I didn't have to speak. I never did. I walked in like a shadow, quiet, cold, uninvited. And yet, they all turned, like they could feel it, like the air changed the second I stepped through. Eyes darted, voices hushed, and no one could explain why I didn't raise my hand. I didn't make a sound, but somehow they heard me, not with their ears, with their fear. You see, the world has always had a funny reaction to people like me. People they can't figure out. People who don't beg to be seen but can't be ignored. They call it arrogance. I call it gravity. I didn't chase attention. But attention followed like a hound with blood on its nose, sniffing for danger, sensing something. Wrong. But I wasn't wrong. I was different. And they couldn't stand it. They whispered when I passed. Not because I'd done anything, but because they felt something that didn't fit, something they couldn't box, break, or brand. And when they can't label you, they fear you because people aren't scared of monsters. They're scared of mirrors. And I held one up every time I refused to shrink. I didn't walk in loud. I walked in still. And that silence, it screamed louder than their entire chorus of chaos. They didn't know my name, but they said it anyway, like a warning, like a rumor, like a bedtime story twisted into a threat. Who is that? No one knows, but he's dangerous. Why? Because look at him. He's not scared. They expect you to flinch, to fold, to need their validation like air. But I never needed them, and that's what kept them up at night. I watched them scramble to make sense of me, try to explain what they couldn't understand. He's too quiet. He's too calm. He thinks he's better than us. No, I just never belonged to you. And when you don't belong to them, when you don't feed their hunger for control, they turn feral because you broke the rules without even playing their game, because your silence echoes louder than their lies, because your stillness feels like defiance. I became the ghost in their story, the shadow they blamed, the name they feared to say too loudly, and I hadn't done a thing. That's the power of presence. That's the weight of being undeniable. You don't have to shout to shake a room. You don't have to fight to be feared. Sometimes you just have to exist. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Let them tell each other lies to feel safe. It won't help, because the truth is creeping in now, and no amount of noise can drown it out. They can't unsee what they saw. They can't unfeel what I made them feel. And they're right to be afraid, because I'm not here to explain myself. I'm not here to be understood. I'm not here to fit their fragile narrative. I'm here to shatter it. You want to know who I am? You're about to. They called me trouble before I ever touched a match, before I ever lifted a blade, before I ever raised my voice. I walked into their world with nothing but silence, and they flinched like I pulled the pin on a grenade. Why? Because I didn't beg, because I didn't shrink, because I didn't break under their hollow smiles and soft threats. They saw something in me, not violence, not chaos, but potential, and that terrified them more than any war ever could. They whispered first, soft, venomous. Their words slithered across rooms, wrapped around ears like warnings. Watch that one. They don't follow the rules. They ask too many questions. They don't fit in. No crime, no weapon, no war, just me. That was enough to make their hands shake. They dressed me in labels like chains. Troubled, rebellious, too intense, too much. But I never said a word, and still they felt threatened. They mistook quiet for plotting, confidence for defiance, awareness for arrogance. They couldn't explain me, so they condemned me. They don't fear what you do. They fear what you could do, not your actions, your potential, not your fire, your spark. I was dangerous, not because I hurt them, but because I could, because they knew deep down that if I ever decided to strike back, nothing would stop me. And so they spoke louder. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs turned to warnings, warnings turned to screams, until my name became the problem. Until the very mention of me was a threat. I became legend without lifting a finger. They built stories around me, dressed me in fiction, dipped me in fear, made me the villain of their bedtime prayers. because they needed someone to blame for their own trembling reflection. But here's the truth they'll never say aloud: I didn't provoke them. They exposed themselves. They showed me who they really are, in the way they looked at me, in the way they circled me like wolves pretending to protect the herd. I walked in peace. They painted me in red. No crime, no weapon, no war, just me. But they needed a monster, so they carved one out of my silhouette. And when the world asked, "Why are you afraid?" they pointed to me and said, "Because look at what they could become." And they were right. They were absolutely right, because if being brilliant is a crime, then yes, I did it. I did it in silence. I did it without lifting a hand. I did it by breathing differently, thinking differently, moving like someone who didn't need their approval to exist. If refusing to bow makes me a threat, then I'll be the shadow they can't outrun. If being unshakable means I'm dangerous, then I'll be the quake they never see coming. They should have left me alone. They should have let me be the quiet storm I chose to be, but no. They pointed, they mocked. They dragged my name through dirt. They were too afraid to stand on themselves. And now they wonder why I stopped smiling. They wonder why I stopped holding back. They called me trouble before I ever fought back. So now, let them see what trouble really looks like. Let them taste what they've been speaking into existence. Let them feel the chill they imagined. Turned real, no crime, no weapon, no war, just me, and still, that was enough to shake their world. Let that sink in. They built their fear out of my silence. And now I give them something to scream about. They wanted screams. They got silence. They wanted panic. I gave them stillness. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't raise my fists. But somehow I raised hell, because when the world came at me with flames, I didn't burn. I stared back, and they hated that. They feared me every time I didn't flinch, every time I stood still while they shook, every time I smiled when I was supposed to fall apart. You see, people aren't scared of chaos. They're scared of control. Not the kind that screams for attention, but the kind that doesn't need it. I was the calm storm, the quiet edge of the blade, the breath you hold before it all collapses. They couldn't understand how someone like me, someone they tried to shame, someone they tried to silence, could stand so still and still make the ground tremble. I didn't explode. I froze the world with a stare, and in that stillness they saw everything they feared. A mind that couldn't be read, a soul that wouldn't bend, a fire that didn't flicker. It just waited, watched, and smiled. They thought I was arrogant. They thought I was cold. They whispered, "Who does he think he is?" But they never asked, "What did we do to make him this way?" I didn't run. I didn't beg. I didn't blink. That's what broke them, because power isn't in how loud you scream. It's in how quiet you stay when they expect you to fall apart. You want to know when they really started fearing me? It wasn't when I fought back. It was when I didn't need to, when I stood there, unbothered, unshaken, untouched. They came at me with labels: too much, too cold, too confident, too different. But every label they threw at me just proved one thing: I wasn't built like them. I was built to outlast them. And deep down they knew it. They saw the weight I carried like it was air. They saw the wounds I never pointed to, the scars I never used as a reason to stop. And that terrified them, because they break at whispers. While I've walked through storms in silence, they're loud because they're afraid. I'm quiet because I'm not. They need a crowd to feel powerful. I just need a moment, one breath, one look, one smirk. That smirk they hated. It wasn't arrogance. It was a promise, a prophecy. It said, "You didn't break me. You couldn't. And now I know you never will." They think fear is in the scream. But I taught them, real fear is in the silence that stares back. I didn't explode, I didn't kneel, I didn't even speak. I just stood there with that look. And suddenly, they were the ones falling apart. So go ahead. Call me cold. Call me distant. Call me dangerous, because every name you throw only makes me quieter, stronger, sharper. I'm not here to explain myself. I'm not here to fit in your mold. I'm here to remind you, you don't have to scream to be powerful. You don't have to flinch to feel. You don't have to break to win. Sometimes the loudest war cry is silence, and the deadliest weapon is composure. So remember this. I didn't run, I didn't beg, I didn't blink. And that is why they still whisper my name with fear. You'd think I robbed a kingdom, just by walking like I owned the ground beneath me. You'd think I set fire to their little empires, just because I didn't bow to their ashes. You'd think I committed a sin against nature, because I stood tall where they expected me to crawl. I didn't storm the gates. I didn't steal their gold. I didn't touch their thrones. All I did was exist too loudly, move too boldly, smile like I knew something they didn't. And that was enough to make them panic. They didn't whisper. They wailed, like I had snatched crowns off their heads in broad daylight, like I had rewritten their rules with blood on my hands. But no, I just played the game better, smarter, quieter. And that made me dangerous, because power that doesn't need to announce itself scares them. They expect chaos to come with noise, but I arrived in silence. No banners, no warnings, no mercy. And somehow that was worse than war. They turned my name into a siren, not because I did anything, but because I could. They feared what I might do, not what I did. Imagine that. A world so weak it trembles at the sound of potential. They needed a villain, someone to blame, someone to bleed, and I was too visible, too calm, too unbothered to be innocent. So they turned the volume up on their hysteria, painted me in shadows, lit the torches, grabbed the pitchforks, and all the while I stood there, unmoved, unburned, unshaken. Tell me, why does silence terrify them more than screams? Why does stillness send them running, like I whispered prophecy into their bones? Because when you carry power without permission, it threatens the structure, the system, the lie. And I never asked permission. I never played their game with their rules. I wrote my own rulebook in ink they couldn't erase, walked paths they didn't pave, wore a crown they swore didn't belong to me, and suddenly I became a threat, a thief, a legend they needed to kill. Funny, isn't it? I didn't commit a crime, I committed the truth, and the truth is treason in a kingdom built on deception. You see, they're not angry because I broke the rules. They're angry because I proved they didn't matter. I walked through their walls, not by force, but by existing outside their blueprint. And now they look at me like a glitch in their system, like a ghost of something they can't control. But I am not a ghost. I am the future they tried to bury, the storm they laughed at, until it swallowed the sky. Let them call it madness. Let them write their stories. Let them twist the narrative to sleep better at night. Because deep down, they know I didn't come to take what was theirs. I came to remind them it was never theirs to begin with, and that truth, that's what haunts them, that's what keeps them up at night, that someone like me exists and doesn't need their throne to feel royal. I don't need validation. I am the standard, I don't need their crown, I am the kingdom. So let them scream, let them panic. Let them rally and riot and whisper in their frightened little circles, because the more they shout, the louder my silence roars. The more they accuse, the more guilty they feel in my presence. I was never the thief. I was the mirror, and they couldn't stand the reflection. Let them talk. Let them whisper in corners. Let them send screenshots. Let them clench their jaws when I walk in like silence strapped with dynamite, because I'm done explaining myself to cowards who only speak when I leave the room. They wanted a villain? They painted one. Every brushstroke dipped in fear. Every rumor soaked in jealousy. Every headline, every half-truth, every twisted echo of my name, they built me with it. They say my name like a curse, like a prayer, like a warning, and still they can't stop saying it because I did what they couldn't. I became undeniable. You know how dangerous that is? To walk into a world built to break you and not shatter, to carry your own truth, like a weapon, to wear your scars like medals, to survive without asking permission. That's not allowed here. No. They'll praise your strength, but only when it's buried 6 feet deep beneath their comfort. They love a phoenix as long as it stays in the ashes, but I didn't stay. I stood, I walked. I rose, and suddenly the air got colder. Suddenly I was the threat, not because I attacked, but because I existed too loud, too bold, too free. They couldn't control me, so they called me dangerous. They couldn't define me, so they labeled me insane. They couldn't cage me, so they made me the monster in their bedtime stories. Let them talk. Let them choke on my name, because every time they speak of me, they admit they remember, they confess they felt me. They reveal I shook something in them they can't explain. I don't need to correct their lies. I am the correction. Every breath I take, every step I climb, is proof their words didn't win. They wanted silence, they got thunder, they wanted shame. They got a sermon, they wanted me to vanish. Then why does my name still echo? Say it again, say it louder, scream it if it helps you sleep, because I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not softening the edges of my soul to make you comfortable. I'm not shrinking to fit inside your apologies. I'm not folding my wings to make room in your broken sky. I am here, and I am not sorry. You built this version of me, out of hate, out of envy, out of fear. And now that I wear it like armor, you want mercy? No. No more mercy for those who mistook my silence for absence. No more patience for those who dragged my name through dirt and acted shocked when I bloomed from it. You say I changed. You're damn right I did. You turned me into a warning label. You carved my name into your fear. You made me the myth that keeps your comfort awake at night, and now I let the legend breathe. They say my name like a curse, like a prayer, like a warning, and I let them. Because every lie they tell adds bricks to my throne. Let them build it. Let them climb it. Let them kneel before it. Let them talk. So this is what it takes. A whisper turns into a riot. A stare becomes a threat. Hand presence alone, enough to be labeled a menace. They didn't wait for the act. They wrote the story before I could move, called me guilty before I could speak, hung a sentence around my name like a noose, and then asked me why I never smiled. If simply standing tall is treason, then consider this my revolution, because I'm done apologizing for breathing fire when they only knew how to beg for smoke. Done shrinking just to fit into their fragile little cages of normal. Done pretending I didn't see the fear in their eyes every time I walked into the room. They feared me. Then they framed me. Now they'll feel me. Let's make it legendary. They called it a crime. My silence, my stillness, my refusal to kneel. They couldn't trace the weapon. Because I was the weapon. I didn't need to steal the crown. They dropped it the moment I looked up. You see, I didn't break their system. I exposed it. I showed them that power doesn't come from permission. It comes from pain. And I had enough pain in me to build a kingdom from the ashes of every apology I never got. They said I was dangerous. They were right, but not in the way they imagined. I won't torch your city. I'll become the fire it remembers. Let them talk. Let them twist the truth until their tongues rot. Let them write their headlines: madman, monster, menace. Every lie they whisper just builds the myth. Every insult they spit becomes part of the legend. Because when you can't be controlled, they call you chaos. When you can't be predicted, they call you threat. When you won't stay small, they call you criminal. Fine. If this is a crime, then let it be loud, let it echo. Let it shake the walls they built to keep people like me out, because I'm not here to ask for entry. I'm the reason the door won't stand anymore. They thought shame would bury me. They forgot. I am the storm they tried to silence. I don't want your stage. I'll build my own arena, one forged from every no you ever threw in my face. I don't want your crown. I want the silence that falls when I walk in and you realize you were never in control. I don't want your respect. I want your fear to look like reverence. They feared me, then they framed me. Now they'll feel me. Look around. Everything you tried to hide behind is falling. Your fake smiles, your coward counsels, your glass towers built on guilt and groupthink, and I'm still standing. I didn't need a movement, I became one. I didn't gather armies, I made silence kneel. I made shadows choose sides. And now you want to cry foul because I turned the mirror on you. You called it rebellion. I call it remembering who I am. You want the truth? I didn't sneak in. You just weren't looking, too busy mocking, too busy laughing, too busy thinking people like me couldn't rise. You fed me the script, then screamed when I rewrote the ending. This isn't revenge. This is revelation. This isn't destruction. It's exposure. I am not here to watch your empire fall. I am here to be the reason it never gets rebuilt. So ask again. Who even is this? I'm the storm that came in quiet. The name you can't scrub from your memory. The shadow you created by lighting the fire too close. They say I committed a crime. They say I stole something. You're damn right I did. I stole the silence. I stole back the narrative. I stole every ounce of power they swore I wasn't worthy of holding. And now I own it. Let them gather. Let them scream. Let them beg for the world to make sense again. I am the reason it never will. Because I'm not following your map. I'm rewriting the entire terrain. And when the smoke clears, you won't see ruins. You'll see a throne, not built from gold, but from grit. From grit and grief and the audacity to still rise. So this is the end? No. This is the strike, the final one. The one they'll talk about for generations. Not because of what I did, but because of what I became. You turned me into a crime scene. I turned myself into a monument. And when they ask who started this, you can look them in the eyes and say, I don't know their name, but they never needed one. You'll know them by the silence they left behind. Let them write their warnings. Let them brand me myth. I'm not just a name anymore. I'm a warning. I'm a reckoning. I'm what happens when the quiet one finally strikes. And if this is a crime, let it be the most legendary one you'll never forget. Let it echo long after your empires fall. Because I didn't come to play fair. I came to rewrite the rules, to steal the pen, to set the paper on fire, and speak in smoke. This isn't madness. This is freedom. They're still talking, still whispering, still choking on a name they don't even understand. Who even is this? That's what they ask over and over. Like my existence is a riddle they're too afraid to solve. They look around corners. They scan the shadows. They flinch at their own reflections because they think I might be standing there smiling, not because I'm a ghost, not because I'm a legend, but because I'm the truth they tried to bury and failed. I never needed to scream. I never had to roar. All I did was exist, loudly, defiantly, unapologetically, and the world panicked. They wanted silence. So I gave them echoes, echoes that crawl up their spines when they lie, echoes that whisper back every time they try to erase me, echoes that ask again and again, what if they were right? I'm the question they can't answer. I'm the presence they can't shake. I'm the line between fear and fascination. I'm the what if in every boardroom, the be careful, say in every backroom, the don't end up like them in every nervous conversation. You don't know my name? Good. Then you can't control it. You can't stain it. You can't tame it. I became what they feared most. Not a person, a warning, not a name, a shadow that grows longer every time they try to stand tall. I'm the echo in your walls, the crack in your certainty, the hairline fracture in your perfect little mask. Smile wider, pretend louder, lie harder. It won't save you because every fake grin you wear, every performance you put on, every time you look over your shoulder, just to be sure, that's me, still here, still laughing, still louder than your comfort. They say, who even is this? But they know, they always knew, I'm the one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't fall, the one who bled, rebuilt, and came back unrecognizable. You didn't silence me, you amplified me, you didn't bury me. You planted something you couldn't uproot, and now you can't kill it. Because it's in your systems, your stories, your subconscious. They told my story wrong, twisted it, warped it, demonized it. And yet they still remember it. They still fear it, because I left something they couldn't wash away. Conviction, real, raw, untouchable, and now it's spreading. They mock it in daylight but repeat it in darkness. They try to forget. But forgetting me means forgetting the mirror I held up to them. And that mirror still shatters every time they glance into it. I am the reflection of everything they wish they could unsee. They say, don't be like them. But what they mean is, don't be that strong. Don't be that loud. Don't be that free. You hear it too, don't you? The way they say it. The trembling edge in their voice. The way they never finish the sentence. Because they know it's not about who I was. It's about what I became. It's about what I dared to be when the world demanded silence. And now Now they whisper warnings, not out of pity, not out of scorn, but out of fear. Because I broke the mold, shattered their expectations, refused their script, and rewrote mine in fire. So keep asking, keep wondering, keep whispering it in fear-drenched tones. Who even is this? I'm the one they couldn't erase. The one they couldn't outtalk, outthink, outlast. I'm the proof that surviving isn't enough. You rise, you reign, and you echo. You don't need to know my name, just remember the silence that followed, the power that surged through the void I left behind. Because in the end, you weren't talking about me, you were warning each other. And now it's too late, I'm not coming back. I never left. I became the consequence. And consequences don't whisper, they echo forever.